In this video, we're looking at solving inequalities. So inequalities can be solved algebraically in the same way as equations. So we use inverse operations to do this. However, there is one difference. When multiplying or dividing by an inequality, like both sides by an inequality, by a negative number, you must reverse the inequality sign. It essentially flips. Now, you'll see some of this later on, but essentially what I'm saying is, if we have something like an area like this, which is greater than, and we divide or multiply by a negative, it flips to become a less than symbol. Now remember your inverse operations, plus and minus are inverse, they're opposites. Multiplying, dividing are opposites, square root and squaring are opposites. Now remember, the goal when solving an inequality is to identify the possible values of the pronumeral. So we essentially want x is less than something, or x is greater than or equal to something. Now remember, your inequality signs are on your screen at the bottom there. I suggest, if you can't remember them, to write them down. They're always good to have down somewhere where you can revisit them. Now we're going to look at some examples. So here's the first one. I like to rewrite it, so we have 3y is greater than or equal to 12. Now again, remember 3y is the same as having 3y as 3 times y. So if we have times, we know we need to divide by 3. They cancel out, and we're left with y is greater than or equal to 12 divided by 3, which is 4. Alright, so that was an easy one. Let's look at the next one. 8a plus 5 is less than or equal to 45. So we need to get rid of the number that's by itself first. So we're going to get rid of that plus 5. And the opposite to plus 5 is minus 5. So we do that to both sides. That cancels out. 8a is what is left over, is less than or equal to 45. Take away 5, which is 40. We then can focus on splitting up the 8 and the a. And remember, that's 8 times a. So we divide by 8. That cancels, and we're left with a is less than or equal to 40 divided by 8, which is 5. So a is less than or equal to 5. Here's the next one. Now there's two ways you might see this done. The first would be to expand your brackets, but you don't necessarily have to in this case. What you could do is, remember, when you're expanding brackets, you're essentially saying it's 5 times everything else, and we said the opposite to times was divide. So if we divide, we could get that, which is m minus 4 is less than 10 divided by 5, which is 2. And then we can get rid of the minus 4. So the reason we didn't get rid of the minus 4 first, because it was inside brackets, and you want to get rid of everything outside first. So plus 4, we're left with m is less than, it's a terrible less than sign, less than 2 plus 4, which is 6. Now if I want to do the expansion, I'll quickly do it here. I can expand these to get 5m take away 20 is less than 10. Then I would plus the 20. That gets rid of that. I'm left with 5m is less than 30. I then can divide by 5 to get m is less than 6. So the same answer, both ways work, whatever you prefer to get to the same answer. So here's our next one. We have 4 minus 3w is greater than 7. So again, get rid of the number by itself first, so which is the 4. Now the 4 itself is a positive number, so we will be minusing 4. Because remember, that 4, the minus there is connected to the 3. So that cancels out. I'm left with negative 3w is is greater than 7 take away 4. Then we divide by our negative 3. So remember, when you divide, our inequality flips. So I need to make sure I take note of that. So we have w now is less than 3 divided by negative 3, which is negative 1. So remember, we divided by that negative here, so that resulted in the inequality flipping. Alright, divide or multiply by a negative, inequality flips. So here's the next one. We're going to multiply by a -3. So again, that's going to result in our inequality flipping. So 5 plus w is less than 2 times -3, which is -6. I then can get rid of the 5 by doing -5. That cancels out. I'm left with w is less than -6 take away 5. Whenever you have a negative and you're taking away another negative, taking away something, it becomes a bigger negative. So -11 or -11. So to recap the video, remember inequalities can be solved algebraically, which is what we were doing the same way you do equations. The only difference is if you multiply or divide by a negative, the inequality sign flips. Alright, now remember your inverse operations, pluses and minuses are inverse, multiplying and dividing are inverse, squaring are inverse, and so forth. And on your screen you can also see your inequality symbols, which are important to take note.